Hey everybody, it is Jordan from Wednesday Night Warhammer again. Some very exciting news today with the pre-order schedule that GW released is the Pariah Nexus is actually coming out a little bit earlier than at least I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be late July or something like that, but the pre-order is going to come out soon. And I wanted to take a second to talk about the things that we know are going to be happening in this new and exciting chapter approved mission pack, and also maybe some things that I think would be good for the game and would be fun to play with in the new chapter approved mission pack. Here we go. The exciting thing that they talked about in Pariah Nexus is really working to emphasize the use of battle line units, especially in the mission rules themselves. They showed two spoilers or two leaks for mission rules that will be included in this chapter approved pack, and they do a great job of emphasizing those battle line uses. The first one is raise banners. It says, at the end of each player's turn, a battle line unit from their armies within range of an objective marker that player controls, that unit raises a banner on an objective marker. That player scores 1 VP, which is counted towards their secondary mission, and that player's units can no longer raise a banner on that objective marker. So you can do it on objective marker, and you get 1 VP when you are able to do that. So fast armies with really good battle line units could go out, score very quick 3 points on no man's land objectives. Also on your own objective marker, I believe, as well. And then so a very early game, you could get +4, +5 to your own secondary score. That seems really, really cool. The second mission rule that they talked about is a rapid escalation, and it says in the first battle round, each player can set up battle line units from strategic reserves in the reinforcement step of their movement phase. If they do, those units must be set up wholly within 6 of any battlefield edge, but no model in those units can be set within the enemy deployment zone. The points total of the units a player can set up in this way cannot exceed 10% of their total points limit for the chosen battle size, as shown below. So Strike Force, most of us are going to be playing that, would be 200 points. Some pretty cool ideas, and I'm excited to see what else in those mission rules that they will include for battle line units. Primary missions will also be changing a little bit. There's going to be 3 new primary missions. The one that they showed us is called Terraform, which it rewards players for actioning on an objective before their opponent, and after that objective is terraformed, your opponent can't terraform it anymore. And then you continue to score points on that objective since you terraformed it. It's pretty cool. And it also mentions in the article that actions are returning, which is very, very exciting. I think it was kind of goofy in some ways where you had a lot of technicalities where, yes, your unit is engaged in combat or something, but because it has a pistol, you can still do deploy, teleport home, or cleanser, whatever. And I really like that apparently they are redefining actions and making sure that it is very explicit what is an action, when it can be done, etc. So I'm excited for that, but I'm also a little bit scared of the possible death for my Spore Mine buddies. We'll see. Secondaries have also apparently been streamlined. I honestly am always excited when Games Workshop states that things have been streamlined or been more concise or more in tune with the rules itself, because it just makes the game easier to play. And I honestly think they have been doing a great job this edition with holding up to those promises that they've been talking about. So secondaries are apparently going to be streamlined. They talked about how it's going to be very explicit when you score the secondaries, how you do those, and then etc. with that. But there was some secondaries where you could draw them on your turn and then still score them in your opponent's turn before you drew new secondaries. So that was kind of weird, and all of the secondaries didn't do that. So some of them did that, and then some of them also didn't do that. So I'm glad to hear that they're probably going to fix those issues, and that's exciting. Some of the secondaries that they included in the article were opponents picking units for you to kill, and that's what I have here marked for death. So your opponent chooses 3 units. If you kill one of those units, you get your 5 victory points. That secondary is you could probably play around that a little bit. Who knows during the game what could happen when you draw that secondary, but I'm hesitant to be excited for that secondary because, I don't know. What if your opponent has 3 things behind a really big wall? Then you're just not getting your 5. They also talked about booby trapping terrain. This is I'm a little hesitant on because terrain isn't always universal, even though I think Games Workshop has done a great job of creating a good terrain format. That doesn't mean that all events are going to use that same terrain. So depending on the terrain that you could be playing on, it could be either easier or harder for you, just basically defined by where you're playing. Who knows? We haven't seen exactly what that specific secondary says, so whatever, you know? And then lastly, securing board edges. Maybe something like investigate signals or engage at all fronts, but maybe killing units away from those board edges. Who knows? But I'm very optimistic in these secondary changes just by the fact that they said they're going to be streamlined. This is a huge change. Gambits are gone. Instead, they're having secret missions, which is kind of a cool idea. Basically, you pick them instead of being drawn randomly. And you can only pick them if your primary is lower than your opponent's. So that is a good way of balancing it. I think in the past, I've only heard of like 1 or 2 people that have done gambits. One of them was done to me by Zach, which was kind of crazy. But you know, they weren't around a lot. But these secret missions do seem powerful and stronger than gambits themselves. And one of the reasons is because I feel like you could actually achieve these. You know, you have command insertion where if your warlord is within range of 1 or more objective markers in your opponent's deployment zone, then you just get it at the end of the game. And that's 20 victory points. That's awesome. Then War of Attrition. 1 or more battle line units from your army are within your opponent's deployment zone, and one of the following conditions apply. There are no battle line units from your opponent's army on the battlefield, or every battle line unit from your opponent's army is on the battlefield is within your opponent's deployment zone. Wow. Interesting. Okay. That's kind of weird, but I'm excited to see how that can be scored. 2 more are going to be Shatter Cohesion. Every unit there are no units from your opponent's army on the battlefield. You have tabled your opponent. Great. Or every unit from your opponent's army that is on the battlefield meets 1 or more of the following conditions. Battle shocked, below half strength. That unit is more than 3 inches away from all objective markers. That one seems hard to do. And then the last one is you control 3 or more objective markers that are not within your deployment zone. So, I mean, I think all of those can be achieved, you know. I'm not going to say relatively easy, but you can definitely play your game to that. I don't think there's going to be a case where people are going to intentionally hold back their primary in order to achieve these secret missions, but I do think it is a thought of consideration now instead of just gambits being like, are you going to gambit? And then you both laugh about it and move on with your day. But they seem good because you pick one of these, whichever one you think best fits your army, and you keep it secret from your opponent. So, seems cool. This is a huge change. Gambits are gone. Instead, they're having secret missions, which is kind of a cool idea. Basically, you pick them instead of being drawn randomly. And you can only pick them if your primary is lower than your opponent's. So that is a good way of balancing it. I think in the past, I've only heard of like 1 or 2 people that have done gambits. One of them was done to me by Zach, which was kind of crazy. But you know, they weren't around a lot, but these secret missions do seem powerful and stronger than gambits themselves. And one of the reasons is because I feel like you could actually achieve these. You know, you have command insertion where if your warlord is within range of 1 or more objective markers in your opponent's deployment zone. Here's what I would really like to enjoy to see in Pariah Nexus. This is my wish list, so to say. First, primary missions, I need them, or I want them to be less list restrictive. I don't like missions that obviously reward lists that were built in a certain way. I know that's just going to be the state of things, and you either have to build towards that or just kind of just move on, right? But missions like Sites of Power, where you have to have a critical mass of characters in order to score your primary, is a little frustrating. I think the ritual is okay, but it also, you really need to have units dedicated to making and creating objective markers. That's okay, but I still feel like some lists would do way, way, way better than others just because of their mass number of different units. Then Purge the Foe. I know Purge the Foe is kind of like a classic Warhammer mission, and I might get some hate from saying this, but I definitely think Purge the Foe incentivizes strong elite and just like big monster armies. And I think that can sometimes give a little bit of a feels bad, where if your game plan is to go out, score secondaries or whatever, and then die, then that means your game plan is, rewarding your opponent as well. And there's always the attitude of, oh, well, maybe you should adapt your game plan for that mission, which is a really good statement, but that's still something that always rubs me the wrong way. Also, please, no servo skulls. It's bad. It's a bad mission, and it should feel bad and should no longer be in the game. Next is, I would really, really, really appreciate if there's a fixed secondary to choose against horde type armies. Because there's a fixed secondary to choose against monster and vehicle armies with Bring It Down. There's a fixed secondary to choose against character heavy armies. You can do Bring It Down and Assassinate, but there is no secondary that rewards you for the number of bodies that you can kill, And I definitely feel like that has left a loophole for horde armies right now in order to just kind of do their thing without giving up free fixed secondary. So I think it would be interesting to see if GW released a secondary that, you could, if it was just titled No Prisoners, for every 10 models you kill, you get a victory point or something. I don't know. I have no idea. This is why I'm not a rules writer. But another thing, I remember talking when they said they fixed the timing of which you could choose objectives or score them. I really hope Storm Hostile, Capture Enemy Outpost, and Behind Enemy Lines are kind of taking a look at. Storm Hostile objective, you can't score first turn, but you can score Capture Enemy Outpost. Same with Behind Enemy Lines. I know there's ways to score Behind Enemy Lines as well as Capture Enemy Outpost, but it just kind of really seems bad to get such a high yielding secondary turn 1 and you just literally can't score it. So you are down, on your secondary score that turn just because you randomly scored Capture Enemy Outpost or Behind Enemy Lines. Storm Hostile, I get why you can't score it, but I don't know, it's possible. Then lastly, this might be controversial, I think it would be cool if there was a CP incentive for choosing fixed. And I know fixed can be very good and easy to score as it is right now, but also your opponent has the opportunity to play around your fixed secondaries. They don't have an opportunity to play around your tactical secondaries. So I feel like there could be some kind of balance within there where if you choose fixed and you don't score it that round, then maybe you get, a CP. That might be able to be abused, but right now I think there is kind of a distance in fixed and tactical, and I would love to see them kind of bring up fixed secondaries in a little bit, which would be interesting, just so that you can shape your game plan a little bit more. Well, everybody, thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening to me ramble for a second. Please let me know if you agree, if you disagree, if you think I missed anything or think anything needs to be added. If you enjoy this content, please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you Wednesday.